Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the SH Figuarts Spider-Man No Way Home upgraded suit Spider-Man. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay guys, so some of you might have already realized that I just did this video the other day. However, I have updated my my review station over here. I got a lot more room, I got better lighting, and also that last video didn't really come out that well. For some reason, every time I'd stick my hands within frame, the exposure would completely change. My hands would get hot spots on them. The figures would just, the camera had a real hard time working with the figures and with the lighting that I had going on. And if I get this guy right here, you can see that they have such different finishes on them that before, just the camera really didn't like it. So it was acting really strange, and I just didn't like the way that video turned out. So I'm going ahead right now and I'm redoing it. I'm taking another look at this figure. So hopefully this time it will turn out a lot better. You can see when I remove my hands from frame, you can see that there is still a little bit of a change, but there's not really bad hot spots, so that's pretty good. But that being said, let's get into the accessories of the figure. We'll move this guy over to the side. He does come with a stand, which you can see here. It does have this piece plugged into it when you first get it, and you can just take the end of this and push it out, which is a pretty cool stand. You know, it's got the double web lines like most of the MCU Spider-Man suits have, which is pretty cool. And if you get the black and gold version, it has a black and gold version of this, which is already pretty cool. So your MCU Spider-Mans this can work with. Of course, this can work with really any other figure, but it's a nice touch that Bandai did. Also, it's got three of these. Three pillars right here. You often only see two, so it's nice to see three on here. It gives you a little bit extra height, a little bit more dominance on the shelf, so that's pretty cool. And along with that, you get this piece right here, which is actually three pieces, so you can plug that into there if you wanted to, as a waist clamp or a thigh clamp, or you can remove it and you can actually plug this right into Spidey's back. Or you get this little piece here that you can plug into Spidey's back. Shoot. This can plug right into there, and then you can plug this into here. Or, if you don't like that, if you're like, nah, I want my Spidey hanging from a fridge or hanging from something metal, you can take that piece and you can put this in there, which is a metal, it's a magnet. So that's really cool. And I think I put it in upside down, that's why it keeps coming off. There we go, it didn't click. So that's really cool, it's pretty sturdy. I've put him up with this on a couple of different things, so it works out pretty well, so that's nice. And if you're not a fan of the hole in the back, then you get a little cover right here for the spider. You get this with all of the SH Figuarts Spider-Mans that I currently have in my collection, so that's pretty nice. I usually leave it out just because it's such a hassle to take off, and also, I mean, I just don't like it. It's not cool. And I'm used to figures having holes in their back. With the Far From Home version, I did actually glue it in there because, well, this figure didn't come with a stand like this one or the Stark suit, so it didn't really matter to me. And also, actually, I really don't know why I glued it in. I don't have a good reason for that, but I did. Actually, we're not done with the accessories. I don't know what I'm doing. But over here, we get one of these webs, which I am not a fan of because with my Far From Home version, every time I try to stick it into the hand, I constantly bend it, and I actually did this on video the first time I recorded this. I've never broken any, but I have creased them. You can kind of see it right there where I did crease it. It goes back fine, so that's cool, but I don't like it because I feel like I'm going to break it. And this time around, they have a little bit of more, a little less frost than the Far From Home, but a little bit more than Homecoming. So that's cool. I like these webs just because they're kind of thick and chunky, and it's kind of nice to see something different in the display. You also get these shortest whips. They're a little bit more animated looking compared to something that Mafex would provide. You also get this little picking piece right here that you can pop the head off. I should take a look at this. See, in there's a little peg in there. That's actually the eyes. You can push that out, and your eye will start to come out right there. As you can see, it's gapped. Speaking of the eyes, you do get some interchangeable ones. You get these more neutral eyes and then these squinty eyes. I've got these regular ones on here. These ones are a little bit more of a white color. Often SH Figuarts gives us a bit more of a silver, so this is a nice change as well. And for the hands, you get a set of relaxed hands, which this time around you can see that they didn't paint the webbing on the fingers like they did with this version, and also very similar to what they did with the Homecoming figure. But these webs are a little bit more noticeable, so it's not that big of a deal. The Homecoming ones you can barely tell. I actually don't even have his hands on the figure currently. These are Mafek's hands on this, just because they're a little bit bigger and I think they look better. But for the rest of this guy's hands, you get a set of thwipping hands. You see some nice sculpt work on there, the same as the previous version. Some wall crawling hands. Again, you can see the little pad on there for the thwipping. Web grabbing hands. And some fisted hands. So that's very, very cool. Get a nice group of accessories with this. Very similar to what we've seen with the Far From Home version. However, this time you get the magnet base, or the magnet for the back, and also the base. So let's move this back here. Now, originally when I did a video on these figures when they were announced, I actually thought that the only difference between this and the Far From Home version was going to be the belt. And also I thought that this was going to be black this time around, because as you can see, this is blue. This time it's actually a little bit more of a brighter blue. But in the pictures that they released, it looked black and the belt looked like it was the only thing that's different. But as you can see here, the whole paint job is different. The color of the webbing this time around is a little bit more subtle. It's a little bit more of a maroon red opposed to this black. The red is a completely different shade and finish. This time it's a little bit more of a matte, and also I would say a little bit of a cooler red. It's a little bit more blues mixed in there, whereas this one's a very nice warm red. And also the blue is a little bit brighter, along with the extra actual black detailing on there, which you can see something like Mafek's just opted to leave black, which is accurate, but in the movie it technically has a different finish from the rest of the black on the suit. And then also the paintwork on the bottoms of the feet are a little bit different. Same sculpt, however, they should be painted like this. So you can see that right there. Spiders are more or less the same, apart from this one having a little bit more detail work on the ends of the legs. And the paintwork on this one kind of rubbing off on that spider. And then also, you can see that these red lines here are still on this suit, but they're not painted. So a lot of differences in terms of paint. The paintwork's completely different. Again, the eyes are a different color. And neither one of them have the spider on the, or have the white on the front of the chest. Mafek's hasn't done that either. I think Marvel Legends did it, but it was pretty sloppy. So seeing these two next to each other, very cool. Big fan of the proportions for both. However, as a whole, I prefer this figure just because I don't know, I just really, really like this one. This one's no slouch though. It's a very nice figure in the collection, if I do say so myself. But if we want to get into the articulation, you can see here that with the head and neck joint, you can get up that far, or you can have it pop off. You can go down this far. Get a little bit of attitude right there, as you can see. And then of course a swivel at the head as well as a swivel at the neck. You get the butterfly joints right here, and then of course the shoulder is on a ball, so you get a little bit extra range there. So if you can see here, you can kind of shimmy the shoulder independently. I'm actually going to zoom this in a little bit. You can shimmy the shoulder independently from the ball joint, so you get a lot of range in there, a lot of twisting, a lot of everything. The shoulders can go up this far, and then with the butterfly joint in there as well, you can get it to go a little bit better than a T-pose. You get a shoulder swivel in there, which acts as a bicep swivel, and I think you get a pretty nice amount of range. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to work with, but it doesn't bother me that much. Some double jointed elbows, pretty nice. You get some wrist rotation, and you can, as long as you have the swivel or the hinge I don't. As long as you have the, oh my god, as long as you have it configured right, then you can get really any kind of movement that you want, as well as the end of it being a ball. That was very hard to spit out, but we got there. And with the combined diaphragm and waist joint, you can get the back moving back this far, and then a pretty good crunch. A little bit gappy, but they give you this piece here to minimize that. It's not that bad, it doesn't bother me. Excuse me. And then you get the diaphragm swivel, which is a little bit stiff. Maybe pop that off and give it a little bit of sanding to limit that. Also, a little bit of a pivot there as well. And then with the combined waist and torso, you get a pretty nice pivot, as well as a semi-swivel down here. I wouldn't go all the way around because just the way it's designed, you don't want to run into anything. You can kind of push it though. And then this whole design right here doesn't really bother me at all. I know a lot of people think it looks like a thong or underwear or whatever. It doesn't bother me. You get some nice range. You can see the splits. You can go all the way up and go all the way around. So, and then also you get the thigh swivel, double jointed knees. You get a foot rotation. You can go down that far, up that far. You get a little bit of an ankle pivot, which is very nice, and some nice toe articulation. So yes, I do like this version of the figure as well as the Far From Home version. So if you haven't picked up either one, I do recommend it. One of my favorite figures in the collection, and SH Figuarts always seems to nail it when it comes to the paintwork. I think Mafex, in terms of their Spider-Man, are a little bit more dodgy with the paintwork because they go for a wash, which there's nothing wrong with a wash. The wash makes things look very gritty and kind of more hand-painted, which I do like. However, nothing beats a nice set of well-painted web lines, in my opinion, and I think that this is absolutely fantastic that SH Figuarts has delivered here, and I think it's just as good as this bad boy and also this bad boy. So I plan on getting more SH Figuarts Spider-Man figures. And actually, while we got these guys here, we can take a look at the size comparisons. So here he is compared to his brothers from SHF. You can see that he's gotten a little bit bigger. However, I would argue that the other figures in the No Way Home line brought his stature down to look a little bit more like this. So I think they backtracked a little bit, unfortunately, but I do like this physique. He's got some nice traps, the shoulder width, the thickness of the thighs. The ankles are a little bit thinner than this particular one. So I think that the actual buck that they had this time around looked a lot better, but it is what it is. We can also see here that here he is compared to some of my favorite import Spideys. Figma Amazing Spider-Man 1 Spider-Man, as well as the Mafex Spider-Man Homecoming. This also has the Far From Home head and neck. We got a lot of figures here. Things are getting all over the place. Here he is compared to his Mafex counterpart from, well, it's technically not. This is a No Way Home version, but Far From Home Mafex Spider-Man. Here he is compared to, let me get this guy standing right. A whole bunch of stuff going on right here. I apologize. Here he is compared to Worthy Cap from Marvel Legends. This one's in the process of being painted, so that's why he looks the way he does. Here he is compared to your average 6-inch Marvel Legends Cap. This one's a little bit taller than this one. And for one last comparison, here he is compared to my custom Far From Home Mysterio. Now I think that this height difference is a little bit dramatic. It's a little bit extreme. Although we don't really get a good look at them standing side by side. I would imagine Mysterio wasn't this much taller. Of course, the ball, or the fishbowl, gives him a little bit more room. But also I did a video on this guy, which I can't remember if I noticed in the video or after the video, but I actually never finished painting this guy. He's supposed to have purple around his hips and his thighs here, so I gotta finish that up. But otherwise, this, along with this guy are my two favorite customs. And I plan on doing a video for this guy soon. So stay tuned for that. But regarding this figure, I think it is very, very good. And if you haven't decided to pick it up yet, I strongly recommend that you do, because it comes in and out of stock on Big Bad Toy Store, as well as actually, I think it stays in stock on Sideshow, but it's a little bit more expensive over there. I'm not entirely sure. But I finally got my hands on it when I had the chance, so I recommend that you do the same. If you guys liked the video, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. And of course, hit that notification bell. And until next time, true believers.